Hi, I'm Glenn Rogers, and this is American Perspectives. In this video, we're going to talk about racism and classism, but we're really going to focus on classism. What is classism? Most people know what racism is. We hear about it all the time. Many people in America are accused of being racist, and so we kind of get it about racism, but maybe we're not quite as familiar with the idea of classism. What is it? Well, basically, classism is not liking someone, perhaps even hating them, because of their class. If not liking someone because of their race is racism, then not liking someone because of their class is classism. Now, is either one of these a serious problem in our society? I want to answer, yeah, both of them are, okay? But we need to talk about it a little bit and see if we can understand it a little bit better. But first, I want to take just a moment to ask you to help us out here and subscribe to the channel. A little button down there underneath the video where you can subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, nobody will bother you, but it really helps out our channel, so it'd be great if you could do that. Okay, so what is racism and classism? What is all this about? Is there enough of either of them in the country to worry about them? And I would say, yeah, there is. Now, I reject the idea espoused by critical race theory and also by the 1619 Project that America is fundamentally racist, that we're a racist society, just rife with systematic racism and white supremacy. Everywhere you turn around, there's a racist behind that rock, or a racist behind that tree, or a racist getting out of that car, or a racist pushing that shopping cart, or whatever that. We're all just a bunch of racists, okay? I absolutely reject that idea. Those assertions are patently false. However, it must still be admitted that there are some racists in America. There are some people who are racist. They don't like people just because of the race they are. Now, some of them are white, some of them are black, some of them are Latino, some of them are Asian. Some people from every people group suffer from the sickness of racism. It's not the case that all racists are white. That's just silly. I have met plenty of people who weren't white and who were just as racist as they could be. Racism is still a problem in America. It is not as big a problem as it once was. Despite what the left wants you to believe, it's not as big a problem as it once was, but it has not yet been eradicated from American society, either from white society or black society or the Latino portion or the Asian portion of our society. Okay, racism is still here, and it's a problem. It's ugly and it's wrong, and we need to work on it, and we need to get it out of there, okay? But another equally challenging problem in America is classism, okay? It is just as ugly and just as hurtful as racism, but it has nothing to do with a person's race or ethnicity, okay? America suffers from a problem of classism just as it suffers from a problem of racism. Now, why is that? Why is classism a problem here? Well, America is a stratified society. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? What do we mean by that? Okay, most people, if they've been driving out, if you've been on a long trip and you've driven through multiple states across the country or whatever, you'll drive through some portions where they've cut the road through the side of a mountain or a hill or whatever, and as you drive through, you can literally see the different levels of strata in the ground, okay? And geologists refer to those as strata, okay? So that idea has been carried over into the social sciences, and we talk about social strata. In some cases, you think of it as a pyramid, right? And so you have people at the bottom and a little higher up and a little higher up and in the middle and higher up, and this pyramid reflects, you know, just as an analogy, social stratification. Now, there's nothing wrong with social stratification. It occurs naturally as a society grows in size and complexity, okay? And social stratification began to develop 10, 12,000 years ago when the hunter-gatherers started living together in settled societies, and social and economic specialties began to develop, and the villages began to grow, and different levels of technology were developed. You know, even if the technology was a new kind of sword or spear or a new kind of arrow or bow or something like that, that's still technology, right? And so social stratification just occurs, all right? There was never a time when they were having a council meeting, right? And one of the guys from the village comes in to talk to the other guys in the meeting, and he says, hey, guys, I got an idea, right? Let's create a stratified society. See, nobody did that. Nobody intentionally set out to create social stratification. It just happens naturally. It's like as a child grows, it gets taller, and it gets stronger, and it develops muscles and abilities and skills and everything. And the child isn't trying to do those things. Those things are just part of the natural process of growth, all right? So part of the natural process of growth in a society, if it grows large and becomes more complex, is social stratification. Nothing wrong with it, all right? But because we have different social strata, you have people who are at different levels in that stratification structure. So some people are doctors and some people are lawyers. Well, there's a lot of prestige associated with those career choices, and there's a lot of money associated with them. And then some people are janitors, or they're a wait staff in a restaurant, something like that, okay? And so those people don't make nearly as much money, and they don't have as much prestige, okay? Well, the things that put you in one social strata versus another, in other words, up here rather than down here, or down here rather than up here, are things like the prestige associated with your career or the money that you earn in that career. And again, there's nothing wrong with this. Doctors and lawyers are not better people than janitors and waiters. They just do a different job. But doctors and lawyers get paid more because it takes more training, and it's a lot of very hard work. It's not that being a janitor isn't hard work or being a waiter isn't hard work, but it's a different kind of hard work. There's a lot of liability associated with being a doctor or a lawyer. You have to go to school for a long time. It costs a lot to get your degree and to qualify and to get the jobs that are out there for doctors and lawyers. It's not easy. And we need doctors and lawyers, and they need to be compensated in a way that is appropriate for their level of education and expertise and that sort of thing. So they exist in one strata and somebody else exists in another strata. Doesn't mean they're better people. It doesn't mean that at all. They're not better people. They just have different kinds of jobs and they make different incomes, and so they exist in a different social strata. And so they have a different social status, or they live in a different class, or they're of a different class, okay? And so before I said, think in terms of a pyramid. The people who earn less, they're down here at the bottom of the pyramid, and people who earn more, they're up here near the top of the pyramid. Now, if you can get that, if you can see that, and I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, it's a pretty simple concept, then you understand why we refer to the lower classes and the upper classes. Okay, to be lower class doesn't mean to be uneducated. It doesn't mean to be stupid. It doesn't mean to be dirty. It doesn't mean to be worthless. It doesn't mean that you're not as valued as highly as somebody. It just means you make less money and you have a different kind of job. That's really all it means. And the people who are in the upper class doesn't mean that they're better or smarter or anything else. It just means they have a different kind of job and they make more money. Okay? Neither of the terms, lower class or upper class, refer to the worth or value placed on the people in those positions. And if you think it does, you're mistaken. Okay? It doesn't. Okay? It just doesn't refer to that. It doesn't refer to the relative goodness or badness of the people involved. It is merely a reference to their place in society, in that pyramid, okay? It's all it does. It's a place to say, this is where these people live, okay? Now, some people hate people of a different class, okay? And that's classism. That is wrong, and it's foolish. And it doesn't matter if they're in the lower class because they make less money and they really don't like rich people or they hate rich people, or if they're people who live up here in the upper classes and they make a lot of money and they really, really don't like those lower class people who make less money. Okay, it doesn't matter whether the classism is from the top going down or from the bottom going up. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's wrong and hurtful and ugly and foolish, regardless of where it comes from, the top or the bottom. And just because someone exists in a different social strata than I do or than you do is no reason not to like them. But people do engage in what we call classism, just like they do in racism. And we have that in America. Well, how do we know that? How do we know we have classism in America? Or is this just an empty accusation that I'm making? Well, no, it's not an empty accusation. I have personally met people. I know people who have hated rich people. And they didn't have any real particular reason. They hadn't done anything to them. You know, it wasn't anything personal. It's just they didn't like rich people. Well, why not? You know, well, one way to know, besides my own personal experience, you know, that there are people in America who are classists, meaning they engage in classism, is that many people in the lower classes want the successful people in the upper classes to pay more than their equal share of taxes. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the poor people want the rich people to pay their way for them. Well, that's childish, and it's foolish. You see, why would somebody who has more money than I do, why should they be expected to pay my share of the expenses of living in this country? Why? We all live in this country. We all benefit from being Americans. We all enjoy the blessings and the rights and the privileges of being citizens of the United States of America. And it costs money to run this country. And as a citizen of this country, I should pay my fair share of those expenses. And so should poor people, and so should rich people. Everybody should pay their fair share. And some people say, well, the people who make more ought to pay more money in taxes. Well, of course they should. Of course they should. The guy who makes $1 million a year should pay more in income taxes than the guy who makes $25,000 a year. Of course he should. But should he pay a higher percentage of his income in taxes? Now, see, that's a different question, isn't it? one of the rights that we have in this country is the right to equal treatment under the law. And it just isn't acceptable if you have the law structured in such a way so that a particular group of people is treated differently under the law than other groups of people. See, that can't be allowed to happen. And yet with the tax code, the way we have it right now, that's exactly what's happening, okay? Some people pay zero taxes. They don't pay any taxes at all. Other people pay 8%, some people pay 10%, some pay 15%, some pay 28%, some pay 39%, almost 40% of their income in taxes. Now, why doesn't everybody pay the same percentage? If they did that, people who made more would pay more taxes. People who made less would pay less taxes, right? So let's just say 10% is an example. That may not actually work, but it's easy to do the math, okay? So if somebody makes $25,000 a year, their share of the tax liability would be $2,500, okay? But if a person makes $1 million a year, their share would be $100,000 in taxes. The rich guy pays a lot more in taxes than the poor guy, but they both pay the same percentage. Now see, that's equal treatment under the law. But we don't have that. In fact, we have a law, a tax code, that specifically treats one group of people differently from other groups of people. What if we said, for instance, that women had to pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes than men? Why? People would come unglued. There'd be lawsuits all over the place. What if we said black people have to pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes? Again, be the same thing. I mean, people would be going nuts. They'd be pulling their hair out and filing lawsuits and all sorts of. You can't do that. What if we did that to homosexuals? What if we said if you're a homosexual, you have to pay a higher percentage of taxes than other people? Again, people, that's just not possible. People would go nuts. They would go, you're crazy. You can't do that. And yet, if we say people who are wealthy have to pay a higher percentage, then, oh, well, sure, yeah, that's okay. That makes sense. Sure, go ahead. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. It's not right. That's not equal treatment under the law. It is a form of classism. It's discrimination and unequal treatment based upon somebody's class. Well, another sign of classism in America is how the wealthy are demonized simply because they understand how to make money. Okay, making money is a skill. If you know how to make money, you can make money. It's like anything else. If you know how to build a house, you can build a house. If you don't know how to do it, you kind of stand there and look around and go, I don't know, what do I do first? I don't know how to build a house. Okay, making money is the same thing. It's a skill. If you know how to make money, you can make money. Why would you hate somebody because they knew how to build a house or because they knew how to build a car? Why would you hate somebody because they knew how to make money? You see, we often hear the media complain about how evil Wall Street is. Well, here's the thing. If Wall Street didn't exist, if there wasn't a way for wealthy people to invest money in companies, okay, half the people in the country would be out of work. America can't exist economically without wealthy people to invest their money in the American economy. It doesn't make any sense to hate the people who make our economy possible. See, that's just silly. It doesn't make any sense. Classism is as ugly as racism, and it's something that we need to get rid of in America. And one of the ways that we can do that is to stop spreading the lie that wealthy people are manipulating the economy in order to keep poor people poor. See, Poor people are poor for a number of different reasons. A guy that was my best friend for many years, he's passed away now, but he was my best friend, did his doctoral dissertation on reasons for poverty. And there are a bunch of them, okay? But not one of those reasons is that rich people are manipulating the economy in order to keep poor people poor. That is simply a lie. It's a lie told by Marxists and socialists who are trying to get everybody angry at people who live in a different class than these people live in. And it's a lie. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. We have too much at stake in this country for us to be hating people for no reason other than that guy makes more money than I make. That's just not right. Okay, those are my thoughts in this video. I hope you found them helpful. Let me ask you again, if you would subscribe to our channel, it'd be really helpful to us. But thank you for watching, and I hope you'll tune in again to more of our videos.